Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope everyone's had a pretty good Wednesday. Let's get into it. Let's get talking about everything I want to run through on tonight's show. Guess we're going to start at the top. Really interesting news coming out in terms of the financials of Manchester United. Look, some of it's very complicated, some of it's not too complicated. All you have to know, if we want to really dilute things down, we want to really talk to things on a really simple level, is that Manchester United revenues are up. The club has still made a loss, the debt has increased, and Sheikh Yassim basically was a fraud all along for all intents and purposes. That's right, he was asked on 3 separate occasions to provide proof of funding for his actual bid, a real small formality in the overall takeover process, and they never did. And there was always doubts about that bid in particular, the legitimacy of it. So I guess that kind of answers the question. It doesn't look like the Qataris were ever going to buy us. If that's the case, I think maybe they were hoping for more money to come from within Qatar itself. It never really arrived, and ultimately we found ourselves with Jim Ratcliffe in charge. So how do we feel about this? It's kind of expected. Look, I think we've always had these suspicions when the Qatari bids just weren't being accepted, even though they looked good on paper. And I guess, we were always asking why we couldn't understand the Glazers not taking it. Why wouldn't they take that kind of money? And ultimately it did look like there was some serious doubts behind that kind of money as well. So I guess that's an issue that we can now move to one side and say that is resolved, that is looked after, that is taken care of. But I guess it is what it is. Guys, just as well, there was a video went up today on some of the best young players in the youth academy. Make sure to check it out after this stream as well. That should be linked down below anyway, I would imagine. So make sure to check that out. Will probably be another video up tomorrow as well. Make sure to stick around for that. There one should be an interesting one as well. But I want to get talking on some of these big changes Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to have to make. So if you're looking at profitability, this club has made another loss, even though we've had a record-breaking revenue in our first quarter, and we've lost money for the last couple of seasons. We've not been profitable for a hell of a long time. That's a big problem if you're trying to do a big rebuild, because how are you going to get the money if your FFP is all over the show? And we've seen how bad that can be in terms of Everton and what's happened to Nottingham Forest. Their club's in trouble, and that trouble is coming from overspending and under-earning. We are probably going to be in the same boat if we continue down this cycle for too much longer. So I would expect to see some alterations there. I would expect to see some changes in that regard moving forward, and I think it's going to be brutal. I think heads will roll. I think you're going to see downsizing of departments. I think you're going to see everything streamlined. It's going to be less clutter, hopefully. And I think that's a long-standing issue at United as well. A lot of red tape, a lot of people in there who maybe shouldn't be in there at this moment in time as well. Lucky Singh is down there. Joe Glazer has to go buy a new sports team. Radcliffe shares will already go 27%. I will let Radcliffe go to 27. Big T says tech this week. Jim is looking to build a new Carrington. That as well is a big story, and we want to get talking about that as well. So it looks like a new stadium coming in for Manchester United. But look, to go back on the big story, I think it's good to have drawn a line under this takeover. I think it's good to have that sort of done and out of the way, and I'm sure we're all glad that we don't have to think about takeovers anymore, that is done and dusted. That is gone forever, hopefully, and it's just going to be a process of Radcliffe banging up the club. But look, the whole thing was an entire farce, and I think we're getting a lot of answers. And one thing I do want to draw your attention to, and I brought this up a while back on the channel, because information put out there by Muppeteers and by Phil Brown, really interesting information on why this takeover took so long to complete in the first place. By all accounts, Radcliffe had put his current offer in, the one that was ultimately accepted by the Glazer family, in July of last year. That was, what, 6 months ago? So at this point, he would be well in control and probably have had at least one transfer window, maybe even the back end of last transfer window as well, to make the kind of changes that Ineos want to bring. But it was held up from within the club, and ultimately we know that was Richard Arnold who held it up. But it is a massive frustration. We could be a lot further on if it wasn't for some of the people working at the club right now. And I think that is a real damning statement. And as we know, look, guys, we know what it's like as a fan base to take this opinion and to have a look at this sort of thing and say, look, what is going on here? Is there people in the club working against the club? The answer is yes. The answer always has been yes as well, and I think that's a big concern. So look, a lot of big decisions are going to be made. Some heads are going to roll. Some people are going to get the sack. That's going to come in very quickly if it hasn't already. And I think it's an interesting time. And look, when we're talking about this Ineos looking to training stadium, starting new training facilities. Really interesting because apparently underneath Carrington is a large supply of natural gas, which is actually owned by Ineos. So one might say, are Ineos going to fund a new training facility by digging up that natural gas or getting their hands on it, selling it on? Who knows what the approach is going to be there. Look, that's just conjecture, but it is something to take note of. I don't think a new training facility is completely out of the question. I think it's something we've needed for a really long time, if we're being honest with ourselves, because Carrington was very good and very modern, state of the art, best in the world when it first opened its doors, but that was 20, 25 years ago now. It's not been updated since, and since then it's fallen well behind the expectations and what you would expect from Manchester United and their training facilities. That is completely unacceptable. That is not good enough by any stretch of the imagination. Bath Time is down there, brutal. It's good to see you, Bath Time. Thanks for joining in there, man, as well. Much appreciated. But yeah, look, what is Big T saying? No dividend for 3 years. Announced at the club. If the Glazers want that money, they're gonna have to sell shares. Jim will end up with more. Yep, that's pretty much. I think that's part of Jim's plan, really, and I think he's kind of just gone for the only deal that was going to give him the control. And look, he seemingly tried a lot to try get this done and over the line. And look, some of the financials, it's really complicated, and I wouldn't want everybody to get too dug into it. All we have to know is debt is up, interest repayments on the debt is nearing £1 billion. We have earned a record revenue, which is good. We have new sponsorships and renewal of sponsorships, which is good, but somehow we're still making a loss. And whenever we see the Glazer family expensing 25 million on the Rain Group on Manchester United accounts, that's probably why we're making losses. So the less those guys have in order to do that, the better for Manchester United going forward. Really will be, guys. Look, I'm asking on the poll as well because it is one of the questions and it is one of the stories we will touch on tonight, and that is Facundo Pellistri set to leave, potentially on loan to Granada. Now, will this be a loan like we've seen in recent days for Hannibal Mejbri and for Alvaro Fernandez, where both players are moved on loan? But there's an option to buy, a fairly affordable option to buy as well, especially Fernandez. Really would be cheap for Benfica to make that a permanent signing, and for a club who will be in the Champions League next year, that's probably a really good signing if he turns out to be good for them. It probably is. So what do we think happens to Pellistri? I'm not too sure, because I don't think Granada are the type of club who are really going to have the money to pay what Manchester United want in terms of an overall transfer fee. I can't see that happening. I'd be absolutely stunned if that happens. But I think it is something to take note of, and I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on, because seemingly we are moving our way through a lot of players on loan. There's talk of Amad Diallo going on loan to Middlesbrough. Now, it looks like he has rubbished that himself. He put a photo of himself holding the Sunderland badge up as well whenever he was playing there last season, so maybe that's not going to happen. But I think it's really... I do think it's really unlikely that we're going to see Facundo Pellistri, Sancho and Amad Diallo go out on loan, because then that's our entire first team right wing department completely gone, bar Anthony, and I don't think anyone really wants to see that either. I would be stunned if anyone wants us to loan out all of our wingers except for Anthony and play Anthony every match. I don't think anyone wants that. Big T says, so in short, Yassim was a fake sheik, never had intentions of buying us. I think he had intentions of buying us, absolutely he did, because he stuck around and did a lot of overall... there was a lot of involvement with Sheikh Yassim, constantly coming back in, but I think it does kind of unpack a lot of interest, a lot of interesting points really around Sheikh Yassim and this bid, because we were told all along that first and foremost they were winning, that their bid was the best and that it was going to win, and sections of the media were telling us that regularly, and now it appears that they never offered close to even getting over £5 billion, which the Glazers wanted £6 billion all along. So, you know, questions around that have to be asked, and there was never any public declaration of an intent to invest or what they were going to do with the money as well. Look, I'm sorry if people still wanted Qatar and thought it was the right option. It just doesn't look like it was. A really interesting bit of news as well coming in from Ben Jacobs on this issue as well. He had said, bidder Sheikh Yassim formally withdrew on the 15th of October. The Qatar bid consistently failed to provide customary financing commitment letters, and there was no mention of pledged investment. Several sources close to the sale had repeatedly said that the reality of Qatar's offer did not match the PR put out there. And I think a lot of people were kind of brought up posting this stuff online because I think it was getting clicks and I think it was getting the kind of reaction a lot of people wanted. We've seen Rio Ferdinand doing it, we see Sky Sports doing it. Big T says, links to Moise Keane coming in and loan. My thoughts, I'm really against the move for Moise Keane. I've seen him at Everton, there was nothing special there. I think he's got ability and he looks okay sometimes at Juventus, but you have to question attitude, you have to question his output as well. I just don't think that's a signing for us, I really don't. Jarl says, who's Moise Keane? And Big T says, if Yassim was not submitting paperwork and proving the finances, he was never going to buy us. I don't think he ever could have in that case. You would have to say genuinely, where is this guy's money going to come from? Where is he going to get this funding to do this bid, to do this deal? Because we're talking 5 billion, 6 billion, and they never really had proof of finance either. Ratcliffe's current structure was pivoted to in July. It's like I said as well, Richard Arnold was someone holding up the takeover process altogether. But in total, Rain were contacted by 170 different suitors. 26 enough went far enough to sign non-disclosure agreements, 19 of which requested processed letters. 10 of those expressed initial and formal interest, 7 proposed minority investment, and 8 made it to the second round. It's worth noting that there was only 2 bidders in April, and that was Yassim and it was Jim Ratcliffe. And seemingly it was always going to be Ratcliffe from that point because he had the actual story on hand there. But look, this is coming out and I want people to talk about this and I want it to be known. I know there's only what, like 11 or 12 people on here, but we're seeing talk about SEC filings and all this legal stuff being Glazer PR, and this cannot be further from the truth. It has to be truthful because it's literal law, it's literal legal documents. There cannot be any lying in this stuff at all. So thankfully we can move on from this entire takeover deal. That it's done at long last, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Big T, I seen a Big T comment as well. Look, guys, any more thoughts, make sure to drop them in down below. Let me know your thoughts on Pellistri as well. Would you support Pellistri going out on loan? Get it into the comments. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Maybe it's a maybe. I mean, I'm kind of off the opinion that maybe we should just sell Pellistri at some point because I don't know if it's ever going to happen for this kid. I think he's 22 now. He's got maybe 1 assist in his United career, maybe 2 at best. Big T says, you seem did work for a newspaper I won't name. Yeah, well, I did notice that it was a lot of the usual sources out there as well. But the SEC filing, the Qataris never came close to an offer that would have actually been acceptable. Their final offer would not even have been legally acceptable because we're a public limited company as well. So it was just never going to happen, in my opinion. I think looking back at it, looking through those details, looking through those documents, never going to happen. And thankfully, this kind of deal is just done. But look, I want to get talking about some other stuff, some interesting stories to unpack across the day. Of course, we will be playing Newport County in the FA Cup 4th round. That was, of course, revealed last night when they beat Eastleigh. So we'll be playing them away. So you would expect us to beat a League 2 team. If we can't beat a League 2 team, we have absolutely no right at all even being into the 5th round of the FA Cup. Look, guys, get those opinions down below. Get voting on that poll as well. Let me know your thoughts. Should Pellistri go on loan as well? And make sure after this video, guys, go check out a quick academy report I dropped earlier. We'll be dropping another video hopefully tomorrow. Going through some of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's big decisions that he's going to have to make with top earners, who should stay, who should go. It's all my opinion, but of course I want to know everyone's opinion as well. This is a community channel. So the chairman of Must have come under a lot of fire in recent years. You were talking Manchester United Supporters Trust. Always been allegations that there's never been officially enough condemnation from the Glazer family, that there never really been enough in terms of an actual uproar from them, and that they've always been happy to sit alongside the Glazers and never really push too hard in terms of what their public statements would be. But they do have a statement coming out today. So they have said, the chairman of Must says, I am no fan of the Glazers. They give us the opportunity to talk. These are the people, and Radcliffe are saying the right things. They're saying that there's nothing off the table. Let's go then. I can't wait until I'm 72 for the next chance. And they also had come out with some other interesting quotes as well, basically saying that Radcliffe seems to mean business. They were saying that decisions and priorities are going to be made on the pitch in terms of our actual success. An interesting one coming from The Athletic. A person who met with Ineos at that meeting said They want success and prestige, not the money, setting the standard where you have to compete for the title, not for the final stages of the Champions League every year. It's not about settling for fourth place. It was very refreshing. I guess time's going to tell. Look, I've said this for a long time. Ratcliffe can work or Ratcliffe cannot work. I think it's a better alternative to what we had at the minute, and I don't think this Qatari bid, with hindsight and looking through everything with a magnifying glass, looking through those legal filings today, that anything was really going to happen on that side in terms of an overall takeover. It's disappointing. I know a lot of people wanted it, but it just was never going to come to fruition in that case. It really wasn't. Guys, drop a like on the video as well. We're up to 9 likes. Can we get up to maybe 10 or 15 across the stream? Would be really appreciated as well. Obviously, look, we're still fighting with YouTube as well, because definitely something up. But trying our best nonetheless. Have some comments from Big T I want to go through as well. Players out on loan are in the shop window better than them not playing and not being seen. Absolutely agree with that. There's no point in Facundo Pellistri sitting on loan, on the bench and playing 5 minutes a week until the end of the season, and then we try to move him on. Send him out on loan, let him pick up some minutes. If he impresses, someone might pick him up. These are the type of players I think we need to sell. We need to move on, hopefully, and hopefully we can do that in this summer transfer window. Because whilst I like Pellistri, I think his work rate's good. I think his attitude is good. He's generally a positive influence on the pitch. I can't see him being a sulking player or someone who's throwing the manager under a bus or just not working hard. I just don't think there's enough quality there. That's my thoughts, but of course, get those thoughts of your own down below. 53% of you guys reckon Pellistri should go out on loan. 47 are saying no as well. Interesting split there, to be fair. But yeah, look, some other stuff I want to go through here as well. I think Dave Brailsford's set to begin very soon, and this will be an interesting one. Obviously, look, Brailsford is not a footballing man, but he is all about performance, raising the levels across the entire club, looking for floor raisers, taking out those who are probably not qualified for their job. So Brailsford was very impressive in his analysis. He spoke about the desire to learn from history and draw on the unique elements of Manchester United's success in past errors as they move forward. Their plan is not to necessarily sign big name players, but exciting and dynamic players, and combine this with strong leadership and purpose. As well as that, it does look like there's going to be some big changes made, and this is something that I think is an interesting one. It's why I was talking about brittle kind of changes coming in from the Ineos camp. And one of the things they were talking about is that they feel like there's a lot of overstaffing, and there's a lot of departments seemingly that have just too many cooks in it. And maybe that's causing some issues. Maybe it is something to be looked at. Look, we don't know every inner working of United. I think we can look at the public faces and make our own determinations upon that. But I couldn't tell you who's working in the analysis department, who's working in terms of player recruitment. We know directors of football, we know some of the scouts, we know technical directors, but that's about it, really. Big T says, it's early days, but I have to say I'm impressed with what's happening so far after Jim's announcement. Obviously, a lot more needed, but it's a positive start. Yeah, look, I think it's a positive start. I feel better about the club and our long-term plans and our long-term future right now than what I did 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when the takeover was dragging on, when we didn't know what was going to happen. So I feel more positive in that sense. Liben is down there as well. Good to see you, Liben. Thanks for joining in. But yeah, look, some interesting stuff here. Someone present in the meeting with Ineos said that Jim Ratcliffe is quite blunt. He was limited in what he could say, but all he said was, we are here and we're going to be staying here. And they had also alluded to the fact that they spent the last year researching Manchester United, the history, what has been working, what hasn't been working, and talking to people within the industry. So hopefully they can get a little bit of a head start. I think, look, it's obviously going to be sporting focus. It's going to be out getting results on the pitch, better performances, more goals, winning trophies. That's what we want. That's what we want as a fan base. We don't care about tractor sponsorships. We don't care about who's sponsoring the team for their instant noodles, who's the water bottle sponsor, who the shoelace sponsor is. We don't care if Manchester United are recognised by 90% of people within the Los Angeles downtown area, the badge. That doesn't matter to us. That might matter to other people in the club, but to fans, we want to see results on the pitch, and we want to see trophies being won at all levels, from the first team, the 21s, the 18s, the 16s, the women's team. right the way down. That's what we want fundamentally. We want the best for the club on the pitch, and that's what we care about. We don't really care too much about the overall profitability, the expected growth of the brand. Yes, it's nice to grow, and yes, it's nice to have money, but we want fees on the pitch. And I think Ineos coming in, whilst it might be the beginning, whilst maybe not too much actual change has took place at this moment in time, I do think we will feel more positive when we see better players coming in, when we see a plan brought in, when we start to hopefully challenge on the pitch again, and hopefully that can make a much better environment for our football club. The Manchester United documents have also stated Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer for United shares represents a 27.69% ownership and a 28.71% voting interest, so slightly above that 25%. I think that's probably factoring in the additional investment that he is going to make as well. So hopefully that's going to make a little bit of a difference as well. Just an interesting story from Manchester Evening News there as well, because something we touched on just a moment ago. Manchester United are now planning to keep Amad Diallo in this January transfer window. He will not be leaving on loan. I think that's good. I think that's positive, and I think that's the kind of thing we should be expecting. But look, I will say this all the time to you guys. There's always going to be malicious stories out there. There's always going to be stories out there that don't quite make sense. And some of it is always going to be clickbait. And when we see people talking about legal filings being Glazer PR, that's just not true. It's not legal for that to be so. When we see stories like this here coming in, what's that, Centre Devils on Twitter, Man United are planning a shock £130 million bid for Vinicius. It's just not happening. Just not happening either. Big T says Ineos are reaching out to past staff to find out what's been going wrong. Could we see a return of any of the past staff? Would reappointing Mourinho end player bar? I think that's just a bad idea, man. I really do. If we're being honest with ourselves, look, yeah, Jose was thrown under the bus, but Jose was also part of the reason why, I think. So I wouldn't be bringing Jose Mourinho back, to be honest with you. I think we got to look towards the future. I think we got to look towards someone else, and I think as well, increasingly so, that even Ten Hag is looking on very thin ice, and at this rate of going, I can't see it changing particularly quickly. An interesting update coming in from James Ducker as well. He's been talking about Batty and Patrick Stewart. So these are obviously two of the head legal people within United. Patrick Stewart is the interim CEO. They got completion bonuses of double their annual salary. I mean, this has just been an absolute robbery as well from a lot of the people involved in the club, trying to get as much money as they can to on the way out. The Batty and Stewart completion bonuses are likely to be high six figures, and Batty could also net an additional £440,000 if he opts to sell 25% of his Class A shares, and Stewart could make a further £250,000 if he sells only a quarter of his. Rain were obviously paid by Manchester United, and the Glazers are walking away from this entire deal £715 million richer off. So we're going to see talk about them being the big winners, and when we see stuff like that, it's very frustrating. But I think it's always been one of these cases, like, we're always going to have to take the pain before we can get rid of the Glazer family. They're never going to walk away on terms that are unfavourable to them as well. Look, guys, thanks very much for 10 likes on the video so far. Much appreciated. But I think overall, there's a lot of interest and a lot of intrigue coming in around this club at the minute. And I want to get talking about some of the academy players, because there is some reports coming out on this that Ineos are going to look towards the academy as well. Interestingly enough, I did drop an academy video earlier, so make sure to check that out as well. But I'll run over some of the players who we're going to be seeing quite a lot of in the coming years, because when we see the likes of Hannibal and Alvaro Fernandez going, Donny van de Beek going in this window, potentially Facundo Pellistri, we've let Brandon Williams go already at the start of this season. You do feel like a lot of the younger type of players are getting moved out of the way to allow further players to come in. And I think when you're looking at talent such as Kobe Manu and Garnacho in the team already, I think you've every right to use that talent when it's there. And there is some genuine top-class players coming through the ranks. So do expect to see Shea Lacey. Do expect to see Ibrahimov. Do expect to see Jace Fitzgerald or Eli Harrison or Jack Fletcher or even Tyler Fletcher. Do expect to see these names popping up in the future, and it will be interesting to watch and see how these kids are going to develop. And I do think we're going to have that model where we'll encourage them coming through the academy system. I think that is something we're going to happen. Big T says, sorry, Chessboard, I'll go with you first. Evening. Fergie working in the background, pulling the strings. I think they're being consulted. I don't think they're necessarily going to be overly heavily involved on the day-to-day. Don't worry, I don't think we're going to see David Gill brought back as CEO. I don't think we're going to see Fergie brought back on a full on a full-term basis. I think maybe they'll be tapped into as a source of knowledge and advice and stuff. Maybe you can do that. I don't know. But I do think, yeah, they'll probably be asked for their opinion on certain matters. That will happen. Big T says, do we have a women's academy? I'd never thought to look. That's actually a good question, man. I actually don't know if we do have a women's academy. I know we've obviously got the women's team. Let me just see. Man United Women Academy. Do we have a women's academy? No, we do actually. We have the Manchester United Girls Academy, Big T. Just out of interest, the Girls Academy is 4 phases. The Professional Game Academy, under 16s and under 21s have weekly matches and training. There's youth development for under 12, 13, and 14s, and foundation for under 10s, 11s. I think it even goes down as far as under 9. So yeah, look, very much not covered. I'm sure that's going to be another area they'll want to invest in as well moving forward. And I would expect to see more from the women's team. I wouldn't think we're going to see a lot more of the best players moving to rival teams who do care more about the women's side of the game as well. Certainly, look, it is an interesting one. And I think top to bottom, Ineos are going to want this success. I think they're going to want us competing for the FA Youth Cup as much as we're going to be competing for the FA Cup. I think they're going to want that level of success. I think it's going to take a while to get there. Absolutely. I don't think this is going to be an immediate fix, guys, because as we all know as fans, that the problems at this club are absolutely massive, and they have been for a really long time. So it would be logical then to say it's going to take an equally long time to fix those problems. But look, with the right people making those calls, it should be done a lot quicker. I do have some interesting stuff I want to go through as well, though, because one of those names who we have long-term suspected will be coming to Manchester United is Paul Mitchell. Now, there does look to be something in this Paul Mitchell to Roma story, with Mitchell potentially becoming director of football there. I'm not too sure what the plan is. I thought very much the plan from United seemed to be Paul Mitchell brought in as head recruitment, and then Dan Ashworth coming in as the director of football. Now, look, there's conflicting stories knocking around on the internet. Some people are saying that Mitchell wants to remain in England. That's why they left Monaco, and it's best for his family that he does so. Some other people are saying that, you know, he wants more control within a club and wants to be the head guy. Would he get that if Dan Ashworth was there? I'm not too sure. So I think we're getting to that kind of point where these big decisions are going to be made either way, and I think we've got to get there fairly quickly, all things considered. But hopefully this is something that will be improved upon in the coming days, in the coming weeks, and I think we're going to find out pretty soon, because Ineos' big plan, their entire organisation is being geared towards an initial assessment, which is ongoing at the minute. Then they're going to look to bring in the executive level changes that we want to see at the club, so looking director of football, technical directors, recruitment, all that sort of stuff. And then from there, I guess it's going to work its way down. Management is going to look at players as well. So there is going to be a wholesale refurbishment of this club. And look, it might be brittle. It might be one of those moments where we're saying Radcliffe's come in and heads have just rolled everywhere. Big T says, one of the incoming staff linked to Roma? Yeah, Paul Mitchell meant to be linked to Roma as well, man. That's the story at the minute. Look, whether or not that happens, I'm not too sure. Some people seem to think it's just Italian sources, but it's a pretty random link anyway. That's coming in from Core. Who's Core Sport? An Italian outlet. So there's DiMarzio as well saying at Roma contacting Paul Mitchell. That was yesterday. Multiple sources seem to be saying that there. So you could potentially be missing out on this, which would be a real shame if you miss out on someone of that quality. But I'm confident Ineos have a plan. If Ineos want him and they think he's the guy, then I think we absolutely get him, because I don't think it will compete. Looking at Roma to Manchester United, comparing, you can't compare Roma to United in that sense. You can't really say that if United come in, Paul Mitchell's going to choose Roma anyway. He is from the Manchester area. He has just left Monaco, and I think it would make most sense for him to move back to his own home area and his own hometown and work at Manchester United, the biggest club there is. Stephanie's in there as well. Big up to you as well. Big T says, do you ever think a club could get to in a position where all players are academy grown would have to be an amazing academy. I'm not too sure if that's possible, Big T. I think you can get close to it. Even like the class '92 um wasn't all academy grown players. Ajax, for as good as their academy is never all players brought through there in their team. So I don't think you can get to that point. Like, I don't even think the Buzz would be able for entirely an academy grown team either. So I think you can get close. And I think having a core of academy players at the club does seem to coincide with United's best times as a football club in its history. There's no doubt about that. When we look at the success in the 60s, success in the 90s, the early 2000s, and moving into even the later 2000s, it was still always an academy squad at the heart of the club. Big ups to everyone as well joining in. I think it's interesting. I will want to go back over that thing that Big T's just mentioned for anyone who did miss it. Basically, we're talking Sheikh Yassim. It looked like there was a lot of momentum behind that bid at one point, and I think there was a time when we as the fan base kind of looked at it thinking this is going to be announced any day now, and ultimately it didn't turn out that way. And I think it's a lesson for us as well, just to watch the reports. Clearly, even people we think might be more reliable sources and reliable outlets of information, they can either fall victim to PR, to misleading reports, or they can completely just fall victim to being told what to say as well. That's got to be a concern for ourselves. But let me just double check a couple of things here anyway. Let me go and check my list of things. There was some other things I wanted to touch on as well during this show tonight. I think United playing £25 million to sell themselves to Radcliffe is an absolute joke anyway. DiMarzio again doubling down on that Paul Mitchell story. Former player Sergio Reguilon has joined Brentford. That's an interesting one, I guess. But yeah, look, there is some interesting stuff as well. For anyone interested as well, who are regular viewers of the United Agenda, going to be back on there tomorrow night anyway. Looking forward to that one. Big T said was always sus. There's one picture of him until now, and we know why. Yeah, look, it is confusing. You know, if they genuinely had that level of wealth that we were believed that they had, then they would have been able to prove that they had it. I think that's something that's kind of worrying as well, guys. Thanks very much for 13 likes as well. Let's see if we can drive it up anyway. Maybe get up to 20 if possible. And there was a video uploaded today as well, if you guys want to go check that out after today's stream. Would be really, really appreciated. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break anyway. It's a bit of a break for Manchester United. Not involved in any matches until the 20th of January. So plenty of time for some developments to happen, and I think this will be an interesting time. I think we're not going to see any real incomings in terms of signings, but I think you might see incomings in terms of the Ineos crowd getting official positions and the initial appointments that they're going to make. I think you will see that coming up pretty soon, so that's going to be one to watch out for. Calvin Phillips potentially going to Barcelona is a weird one. Jarl is down there as well. The more I read about the Qatar bid, the angrier I get. All right, I'm not that angry anymore. Since I got beans and toast for the first time ever, and it's very tasty. There we go. It's a proper meal, Yarley. I like it. I mean, you can't beat beans and toast. Like, it's not bad. It's really not bad. But yeah, look, no bid from the Qatar was above $5 billion according to those legal papers put out there today, and they do have to be truthful, otherwise people are going to go to jail over it. Let me see. Big T says, what's coming up? What exciting is coming up in the channel? When are you moving into a studio? Honestly, man, I mean, it'll be a long time before I move into a studio. Like, look, there's a lot of problems on there's a lot of problems on my end anyway. And they're all pretty much YouTube related. I mean, we're keeping a decent flow of content going out there. Like, I would say that there's not as much to talk about at the minute without matches and without actual serious transfer windows. But I mean, look, I was looking into the analytics. It was annoying earlier because it's the last 17 days. So since we started this year, it has been the lowest amount of views and the lowest amount of impressions. So that's potential views, people actually seeing my videos, since the first 17 days I started YouTube. So it's as bad as when I had 0 subscribers as when we have 2,100. So seriously, I mean, there's definite problems going on there. It's kind of been like this for about 4.5 months, almost 5 months at this point. So I'm really not too sure, man. I mean, look, we'll have to get a bit more money in if that's the case. Need to get a couple of sponsorships. But I mean, right now, I think we can't even buy like 300 views. So a long way off that, bro. A long way off it. It could be as simple as a red in the shed. It could be. For the minute this is the studio and the backdrop is literally it's literally just my desk in my bedroom, and that's literally what we're. Jarl says we can't forget that Qatar will come back in 18 months a bit again. Way too many think that's going to happen. I can't see that happening, to be honest. Lucky's saying as well, just got to get the takeover finished. The Premier League, Joel and Avram will get 1.4 million each. They'll get a lot of money each for running this club into the ground and selling it on to somebody else to take care of the parts. Look, there's going to be good reports, there's going to be bad reports coming out. Make no mistake about this, guys. And I've been saying this for a hell of a long time. We're going to see people out there still very much backing the Qatari cause, and that's okay. I mean, look, everyone gets their right to their own opinion. Some people can say this deal would have been better for us, this deal would have been better for us. But ultimately, I think the only thing that does matter is that it is done. And whether you wanted Radcliffe or not, whether that was your expectation, whether that was what you actually wanted, it's what we get. So it's a lot better for us if it works. It's a lot better for us if the actual takeover works out and look, we become successful on there. Liman's down in the chat as well. Good to see you guys as well. Thanks for joining in, Liman. But yeah, look, interesting times, and I think this takeover stuff really today really been eye-opening in a lot of senses, and I think we're going to be seeing some interesting developments coming up pretty soon in terms of what Ineos are going to do and where they're looking to bring people in. Now we keep down there. Assuming about Qatar not being serious, I do think United are generally been run by someone who actually cares for the club, and Jim does. Yeah, look, I think it's one of those, like, you know, we've got the takeover done. The takeover is done. It's official. It's complete, and it's going to be Radcliffe. And it suits us a lot better if it works out. And I hope that he buys up the full amount of shares. I hope the Glazers go as soon as possible. None of us really wanted this at the beginning. It's not the takeover we wanted, but it's a takeover we got. So hopefully, with some luck, we can get a full takeover done pretty soon. And I think Radcliffe's going to want to make a move in this quick. I really do. I don't think he's going to want to hang around. I don't think he wants to wait and stall and sit for weeks and months without having any further progress. He's definitely got an idea of when he wants a full takeover to be done by. And the more money he puts in to invest into the club, which is good, will end up buying him more shares, which is also good. So the more he puts in, the more shares he's going to get, the more money we get, and the more less control the Glazer family have. So I don't think you get a bigger win-win out of this situation than that. That 25% has grown effectively to 28% already, and it's going to keep on growing and growing and growing as time goes on, as more money's put in. So it's certainly an interesting one, and it's going to be a really interesting couple of months, and I guess maybe we'll extend it to a year. I think in a year's time we'll be sitting in a really different position. Jarl is saying as well, I hope Jim gets approved either next week and he can get approved before the transfer window closes. There's a chance we could get a player. I don't think we're going to get players this window, and I think that's disappointing for a lot of people, but it does look like we're unwilling to make any changes or bring anybody in. So that is frustrating. How many top class players is there that we can either get on a budget or get on loan until the end of the season? Not a lot, really. But then again, we haven't been signing those types of players in January regardless. Jarl, I've seen that there. Lucky is saying we got to get United moving quickly. That's the aim for the club. Yeah, I think move quickly has got to be the plan, Lucky. Absolutely. Big T says Liverpool owners are American. I would not say that they have failed either. I mean, I think they've done okay. I think FSG have always kind of took the approach of bringing in people who know what they're doing to run the club in a more effective way. I don't know why the Glazers never took that offer up either. Let me see. What got Big T and Lucky is down there. The club has to start running properly. Yeah, look, I think that's got to be, you know, the key here is that we keep on running this club properly and we keep on seeing that progress on and off the pitch, and that for me is a big one. Liman says Liverpool owners are saved by a great manager. They did their shite but got covered by Jurgen. Yeah, look, there's aspects to that as well. Like, absolutely there is. They've had a very, very good manager for a very long time at Liverpool and a really good team that hasn't needed a lot of changes over the last couple of years. Steph says looking forward to Casemiro and Leach being back in action. Yeah, that's a big plus. as well. And I think we're going to have pretty much a full team back by the time we next play. We play Newport County on the 28th. We should have Casemiro back to full fitness, Martinez back to full fitness. I reckon Mason Mount will be back by then, Lindelof, Luke Shaw, possibly Harry Maguire. You could be looking at United having a full team at that point. And then from there, I don't think there's any excuse for Ten Hag at that point either. Chatsport was surprised Alvaro has gone to Benfica. I think Alvaro Fernandez is a good player. I really do. I think it's maybe the time to move him on. I think we could have done a lot more than what we did in terms of a buy option. And I'd be really surprised if they didn't take that option up anyway. And that becomes an obligation if Alvaro Fernandez ends up playing 50% of the available minutes that he is going to be there for until the end of the season. So it's very likely that he's going to become a Benfica player in the coming months. That's very likely. And I think they're getting a good player. I think maybe left back's an interesting position for us because I think Shaw is still really good, but the availability issues have always been questionable. I think Malacia is a determined defender, maybe not the highest quality. I think we got good young players coming through in those positions. I think Harry Amas might be the long-term thinking of the club. Maybe we're moving Fernandez out to clear way for a potentially better player. That could be the option. Lucky says the tea lady will be sacked alongside the set-piece coach. Maybe. Lima says, and Stephen Levy, isn't he? It probably is. Big T says Alvaro has gone with the option to buy, which becomes an obligation. He has gone. Yeah, absolutely. It's. I would be more surprised if he didn't end up signing permanently for Benfica. I really would be at this point. Can we say for certain that he's gonna go? Yeah, I think we can say that at this point. Jarl is saying as well, the sad thing for Alvaro is that Ten Hag in the summer was not in his plans. If he shows that Alvaro plays 50% of the games, they're forced to buy him as well. Big T says the owners love Levy but thought he'll ever go. Yeah, I doubt that as well, man. I really do. I think Levy will leave Tottenham when he wants to leave Tottenham. I think that's going to be the case for it as well. Lucky wants a set-piece coach sacked. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's no evidence to the contrary or to support that, he's been doing his job particularly well, because we haven't been doing well at it for a long, long time either. What I got in that poll as well, pretty 50-50 in terms of the Pellistri loan, which is interesting. I thought more people would be for him going alone because he's not playing at the minute. I think it's an interesting one. I do think it's going to be one of those players who maybe probably should have been moved on at an earlier date. I think if he goes to Granada and does well, we could cash in on him in the summer. And I think it will be interesting to see what Pellistri was originally registered to when he first signed for the club, because he could... I mean, Hannibal, for instance, even though we paid money for him, was brought in as an academy product, and that would mean that if he sold, I think technically it could go in the FFP books as an academy sale, so pure profit. So is Pellistri going to go in the same way? I'm not too sure with that there one, but will be something to keep an eye out for sure, because that could be 15 or 20 million complete profit, which just gets added on top of the summer transfer budget. You could be looking at Alvaro Fernandez and Pellistri bringing the best part of £25 million extra in, which might make a big difference for our transfer plans. Lucky is saying Manchester United should score more goals from set pieces. Yeah, look, I mean, more goals in general is what we need. We need to be making more chances. We need to get Højlund involved more, because the numbers are backing up that his finishing has actually been quite good across the majority of the season, bar that Wigan match. So I think we just got to get him more service. I think we got to get the ball to players who are more likely to score. I don't know why it always seems to pop up to a defender or a fullback in shooting positions on the edge of the box, but these are things we need to work on. You would question tactics and stuff. I think that maybe is going to feature into it as well. Jarl is saying right now we're on the way to capture all the records. Time to collect more points. Yeah, look, we don't want to break the worst records. We want to be breaking positive records for most wins, most points, most clean sheets, most goals. That's what we want. Not first time losing away to Brentford in 42 years. Not the first time failing to score in 5 matches in a row at Old Trafford or anything like that. That's the sort of stuff we want to avoid. We don't want that stuff. And breaking those records. There's good records, bad records. Let's hope we can keep as much of those bad records intact as possible, not be breaking them. That has to be the plan there. Let me see. Any more thoughts, guys? Make sure to drop them in down below. Vote on that poll as well. I think the Pellistri one's an interesting one. I think he's kind of popular in the fan base. And look, I get it. There is always a part of me is thinking, is this because he isn't Anthony? That is that the primary reason? But I don't know. Look, I don't know. Rajat, it's good to see you as well. Thanks for joining in with us as well, man. Much appreciated. But yeah, look, I think I think Pellistri is one who might go on loan, and I wouldn't be surprised at this point in time. Look, Alvaro Fernandez has gone. Hannibal has gone potentially permanently. So there could be interest coming in there. An interesting thing coming in from Simon Page. Sir Jim warned United he was prepared to withdraw the offer to become the minority owner if not given the green light before Christmas. It has been revealed in the filings published today. I think we knew that already, and at some point Jim was always going to pull out. I think it maybe put the final squeeze on that was needed to get things done and over the line, and thankfully it is done at this point as well. Let me see. Rizal goes, if Ten Hag doesn't rip Pellistri, then let him leave on loan. Chatsport said, could we see some big names leaving this summer? I think we could. I really think we do. Because I was looking at it as well. Overall, our top 10 earners, we could look at 7 of them going. You could look at Casemiro going. You could look at Varane, Martial, Sancho, potentially Anthony, Harry Maguire's another one. Christian Eriksen's another one. So there's definitely players who could go there. I think Bruno stays, and I think Rashford will stay. I think Mount will be kept, but that's probably about it as well. Big T hopes Bruno and Rashford go as well. I mean, you could see sweeping changes. Maybe we need that at this point in time. Maybe that's what we actually need to do in order to progress as a club. Look, guys, keep dropping those likes as well. Lucky says CEO is likely to be French. Jean-Claude Blanc. Look, that was the initial belief. It does look like those plans might have altered as well, with the potential of Jean-Claude Blanc being above the CEO. So when he was getting another man in, he might be on their method of thinking and their beliefs. So that's something we could see, and that's something definitely to be keeping an eye out on as well. Rajat says, don't want to see all of the youth going. I think we'll let some go. I don't think we'll let all go. I think you'll definitely still see a lot of young players in around the squad for the majority of next season as well. So look, there's definitely calls to be made on that front as well. In terms of that poll, guys, 55% are saying they can see Pellistri going on loan. 45 saying no. Stephanie says up to 15 likes as well. Yes, guys, much appreciated. Obviously, look, things have been a bit of a struggle for maybe the last 4 months, so really do appreciate everybody sticking by as well. It is a YouTube problem. No matter how much they try to tell me that it's not, there's nothing wrong. But yeah, look, guys, there's a video uploaded today as well. Make sure to check that out after if you haven't already. It's an interesting look at the academy, having a bit of a deep dive into some of the changes that have been made, some of the best players coming through. Of course, we look at everybody's favourites, Manu and Garnacho, but we look at some other players as well. Rashad, will we sign anybody? No, I don't think so. Big D says, can the Knights get rid of a player with an MBE? Or is there some Corner Knights code saving Rashford? I don't think that's going to be anything to worry about there at all, man. Wouldn't be too concerned about that. I misread it for a minute because my friends were talking about Michael Knighton and Sheikh Yassim earlier as well, and I was like, what am I reading here? Rosacco's, it says Savka can't buy Garazi for only 18 million. Yeah, look, I think he's had a good season. I think that's kind of the type of player we've been signing for a while, and it's just not been working out. Players coming off the back of an exceptional season when their average numbers across the rest of their career mightn't support that, but Stephanie says, will Eriksen be retained next season, or is Mount the replacement or Bruno's? I think Eriksen could go in the summer. I think he's good. I think his legs are gone. I would question the sense in having a player, of his age, of 31 or 32, as a squad player on £150,000 a week. I still think it's too much to pay for someone to be on the bench in that sense. So I think there could be a potential for him to go. Where he goes to, I'm not too sure. Any update on Benzema on loan, says Big T? Yeah, there was an update from Fabrizio Romano on that. I think last night he basically said nothing concrete, and nothing's going to happen there either. Lucky says, what will Michael Knighton do then? Michael Knighton is going to do nothing, but he was like a joke of a potential owner of Manchester United, and I think that's kind of where that one's coming from. Salzburg said, if there's one player you want, if there's one player that's realistic for next summer, who do I want in? Probably, I think we need a centre back. I think I'd probably go for like Brandtwit or Lenny Yoro. I think Lenny Yoro is going to be very, very, very good. Um, Chatsport, yeah, we're not getting Benzema. Le Mans says Tanzania lost 3-0 to Morocco. Someone tell this to Small T. Oh, guys, you guys crack me up sometimes as well, honestly. I mean, AFCON's been something else anyway, from what I've seen of it. Rajako's don't believe links to Vinicius Madrid won't sell him. No, there's no chance. I mean, we have articles from good sources saying that Ineos and Radcliffe are not going to be spending like buying Galactico type signings and bringing in players for hundreds of millions of pounds. We're not going to be doing that. So why would I don't think they're going to do that. I would be stunned if they do that. I can't see that happening at all if they do that. Big T says, I wanted to get Gordon. Newcastle need FFP, I'm hearing. I mean, if we're going to Newcastle for anyone, I'll take Bruno Guimaraes off them easily, or that could be my choice before I go for Anthony Gordon anyway. Look, guys, any more thoughts, make sure you're dropping them into the chat. Big T says Real Madrid won't sell. It works for them. Nah, they won't sell him. They won't sell him. The only look, Madrid will sell Vinicius someday, probably when he's like 32, 33 and past his best, and thankfully, we'll not still be under Glazer ownership then. We won't be just the ones to pick him up anyway. Berjako's, I'm not sure if it works out at United. I don't know if it. I don't think that's a deal that's ever going to happen, man. I really don't. I can't see us signing Vinicius. I think, yeah, look, would we take Vinicius? Yeah, we probably would, but we're not going to buy him. No chance. No chance of that happening. Madrid don't sell their best players. Doesn't happen. Never happens. Look, any more thoughts? Make sure to put them into the chat below. Let me have one quick check here anyway before I head on here. James Ducker was told United also told Sheikh Gassim last year on May 22nd that a deal worth 35.25 per share would be considered. It would have valued the club at 4.55 billion, but it failed to provide proof of funding despite numerous repeated bids to Manchester United, and ultimately there was always doubts about the validity of the bid. That does seem to be a long-running issue with that potential bid. Chatsport says we should have been we should leave buying wingers for a while. I mean, we've signed a new right winger every season for a long time. We've brought Anthony in last year. We brought in Sancho the year before, Amad and Pellistri the year before that. We had Dan James the season before that, and before that probably somebody else I genuinely can't think of. Mkhitaryan maybe. Big T says, could we attract Bellingham's brother? I don't think he's bad. Like I don't think he's bad. Joe Bellingham, I think he's a good player. I don't know if we could sell him. Le Mans says, I've become bored with football after 45 years, to be honest with me. It's one of those things, man. Like, sometimes United would genuinely kill your love for the game, the way we get on, how we do business on and off the pitch. But, I mean, we always come back for more, no matter how bad it gets. Are we just punishing ourselves? Who knows? But we always do come back eventually. Chatsport said strikers are needed. I think, yeah, we could bring another striker in. I think we need people to make more opportunities as well. That's the big issue. I think the wide areas are potential places to upgrade our chance creation from. There's no crosses in this team. Chatsport said, Benfica said, so will we get Neves from Benfica? I don't think so. I think he's just going to be too expensive. Again, I can't see us buying 100 million. Everzako's not do not really need to get wingers. Maybe a centre forward. I think we need to get better wingers. I think that's maybe the plan that we're going to have in this summer. But I think it will be a lot of changes across the board and a lot of signings brought in. I think that's exciting. I'm looking forward to doing the entire transfer window as always. That will be fun for sure. But Big T says Højlund has only had 20 shots on target this season. Do need a better creator than Bruno. It's one of those. It's we all associate Bruno with being the creative force in this team, and yes, that is true. But I think even if we look at the numbers as well, Rasmus has had 20 shots, passing it. I don't know. Look, Bruno is third in the league for expected assists, so he is creating high quality chances. It's whether or not he's just picking the wrong players out or the wrong players are getting onto it. I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. But it does feel like we've missed a lot of opportunities. I've been saying it for a while as well. It's kind of like we don't score enough goals because we don't make enough chances, but the chances we do make, we don't score enough of them anyway. So we're kind of stuck in a vicious cycle anyway. Look, guys, I think I'm going to leave the stream there. So thanks so much for joining in with me today anyway. Much appreciated as always. We'll be live again tomorrow. Make sure to check that out. And I'll be on United Agenda tomorrow and hopefully going to have another video for you guys up tomorrow as well. Look, if you guys want to go and check out today's video, I'll put it into the comments really quickly for you guys. Would mean a lot anyway if you guys could hop on there, give it some love, a couple of likes would be much appreciated. Because I think it's just a little bit stuck in the mud at the minute. Rosacco's will Lingard sign with Barcelona? No chance, man. Lucky says Mikel Ali said please sign us. And De Ligt, I can't see us buying De Ligt for obvious reasons because of the injuries, and it could be another like Ten Hag player. And is that what we want? Is that what this club honestly needs at this moment in time? I don't know, because I think with the injuries, that's a big concern there. He's just never available, and he's never managed to stay fit for a prolonged period of time, has Matthias De Ligt. Let me quickly grab this link, and I'll put it into the chat as well for you guys as well. If you want to check it out, would be really appreciated anyway if you can. There we go. That's popped in there if you guys want to check it. Big T saw it and liked it earlier. Thanks very much, Big T. Look, guys, I'm going to drop off here, but I'll catch everyone tomorrow. Hopefully I can catch some people on the United agenda as well. So make sure to join in for that there one, guys. Have a good Thursday. Have a good Wednesday night, and I'll see you then.